Donald Trump isn't holding back when it comes to talking tough on China, especially when it comes to what he calls unfair trade practices. The U.S. president wants his trade officials to investigate whether China is stealing intellectual property from U.S. firms operating in the country. And that follows Trump calling on China to do more to help curb North Korea's nuclear missile program.
I think China can do a lot more, yes. China can, and I think China will do a lot more. Look, we have trade with China. We lose hundreds of billions of dollars a year on trade with China. They know how I feel. It's not going to continue like that. But if China helps us, I feel a lot differently toward trade.
A call that sounds more of a condition to keep China-trade relations going. But according to Chinese state-run media, it's a step that could poison their relations. U.S. Security Advisor H.R. McMaster stressed that the U.S. was not looking for a trade conflict, saying the operative word is not punish. The operative word is to compete effectively, to demand fair and reciprocal trade and economic relationships with not just China, but with all countries. The Chinese Foreign Ministry made it clear it doesn't want the North Korean issue to be turned into a bargaining chip.
I want to emphasize that cooperation between China and the US should be established on the basis of respecting each other's major interests and concerns. The Korean issue and trade issues are in a different category from each other. On these two issues, China and the United States should respect each other and enhance cooperation. Using one issue as a tool for exerting pressure on another is clearly inappropriate.
But while trade relations between Beijing and Washington seem to be at a low, many U.S. companies in China are enjoying a high. Chipmakers like Qualcomm and Skywords Solutions recently reported stronger quarterly earnings from their operations there, benefiting from an economy that's grown faster than the U.S. expansion rate. However, the U.S. government fears China is abusing intellectual property rights, and the so-called Section 301 of the U.S. Trade Act allows the president to impose tariffs to protect U.S. industries from unfair foreign trade practices. An investigation could take a year to complete, but that could lead to hefty tariffs on Chinese goods, a step that could only intensify tensions between the two economic giants. Staci Bivens, TRT World.
Meanwhile, China says it will stop importing coal, iron ore, fish and other goods from North Korea. The ban would start in September. China voted, along with all other members of the UN Security Council this month, to impose tougher trade measures against North Korea over its nuclear and missile programs. The sanctions could cut its export revenues by $1 billion, a third of its total. So, lots to dissect there. For more, let's go straight to Paris and our editor-at-large, Craig Copetas. Craig, great to have you with us, as always. Let's start with Trump's threat there to investigate China's intellectual property regime. What exactly is he targeting there?
Well, he's going to launch an investigation, as other presidents have launched investigations, and it remains to be seen who's going to enforce anything against China. As far as this intellectual property, that's the ultimate red herring, because American companies like Apple have already made deals with the devil, doing things like removing apps from some of their software and phones that the regime finds threatening. American companies are making money in China. They're going to continue to make it. They're going to do whatever kind of deals they want with the Chinese to keep making it, letting the Chinese have a majority share in any joint venture. That's called business. It's going to continue, and I don't see what traction Trump is going to get out of doing yet another investigation.
Let's turn to the China and North Korea situation now. Now, China says it is going to abide by the UN sanctions that have just been imposed and stop buying North Korean goods. That looks like it's caving into international pressure, but is it?
No, it's not. They're not caving. As we all know, 90% of North Korea's trade is with China. If the Chinese are serious, they're going to have to shut down the North Korean corporate shells in China. They're going to have to shut down the corporate accounts that they run in China. They're going to have to get rid of the North Korean workers in China, Asia, and throughout the Middle East and in Russia, because they make a lot of money for the regime. These are piecemeal. What it boils down to is everyone seems to be completely taken of the current cash flow between China and North Korea. That's not the point. The point is, how much money have the North Koreans stashed in China? Billions and billions of dollars for decades and decades that they're using to buy the material for their nuclear program.
Interesting perspective. Craig Copetas in Paris, thank you so much.